Kim, and welcome to Esotouric's podcast, You Can't Eat the Sunshine, for the week of March 9th, 2015. Join us this week as we talk with Downey historian George Redfox about one of his city's gems, the oldest surviving Golden Arches-style McDonald's drive-in restaurant. We'll also talk with artist Kim Stringfellow about After the Aqueduct, a multimedia group exhibition at Lace exploring Southern California's growth, the Owens Valley, the Los Angeles Aqueduct, and the ongoing conversation sparked by the issue of water in the West. So stay tuned.
You can't eat the sunshine, but you can make a beeline for the best of the coastline. La 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 la. Skid Row, Solano Canyon, the Doria, and Pico Union, the long-lost neighborhood called Hermina, between South Pass and Highland Park, Grand Central Park. It is divine. You can't eat the sunshine, but it's a gold mine of fabulous oddities like Rouge, Dairy, Angelus Abbey, Bob's Big Boy, in Downey Forest Lawn Cemetery. You can't eat the sunshine, but make a beeline for la la la. You can't eat the sunshine.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for listening to our podcast, You Can't Eat the Sunshine, for the week of March 9th, 2015. This week, our two guests will be George Redfox. He's president of the Downey Conservancy, and he'll be talking about the oldest McDonald's in the world, which is in Downey, at Lakewood Boulevard and Paramount. And there's a museum. We'll get into all of that. This is 2 for 3 for George. We've got one more interview in the queue, and about fast food in my favorite city in the world, Downey. So we're making our way through it. Our second guest this week will be artist Kim Stringfellow. Kim is the project organizer for an exhibit at Lace. Lace is Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions. They're in Hollywood. They originally were in a brick industrial space next door to Daily Dose, which is where we start a majority of our tours. So I'm always thinking about Lace because I'm always seeing the stencil sign painted onto the brick. Kim has organized a show. It's called After the Aqueduct. It's a show with a number of other. It's a multimedia exhibit with a number of contributors. We'll get through all of them in the interview. The show opened mid last week, and this coming Saturday, the 14th, 2 p.m. There's a panel discussion about the exhibit with a number of guests. John Christensen, who's been interviewed on this podcast, editor of Boom, a journal of California, will be moderating the discussion. And this is a great interview with Kim. She's a really together lady, and we'll get into all the interesting things she's doing in the Mojave Desert and the Owens Valley. And Kim, the tip jar, please. You are the Pishka maven.
Yes, it's true. There is a tip jar. It's associated with this podcast. It's sort of out on the virtual counter next to where you order, although it's very virtual because you don't order anything. You're already here, and here it is. Take it. Here's the podcast. If you like it and you're so inclined, you can make a digital contribution to help support our enterprises as we're traveling around the Southland looking for wonderful people to talk to, for you to listen to. Never obligatory, always appreciated. Thanks so much for your support.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim. I say perfect a lot, don't I?
It's your word.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is. Amazing used to be my word, but that would be a weird thing to say.
That's kind of Huel's word.
Amazing?
Amazing!
Oh, yeah, it is. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
All right, Kim, closely watched trains. Let's jump into the first one. Newbury Park, okay? West out towards Thousand Oaks, off the 101. There used to be a lion farm there. Someone found a poster. Do you want to tell us about this poster by the artist Earl Newman? This dates from 1963.
Sure. Leslie Pruitt
as in she always knew it.
Thank you, Richard. I was not stumbling over that, but Leslie Pruitt, as in she always knew it, who we know from the campaign to preserve and protect the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, fell in love with this vintage poster from Jungle Land, the old lion and wild animal farm out Thousand Oaks Way. And she managed to track down the artist, Earl Newman, and he was still around, and he had a website with a lot of his really cool beatnik era and jazz era posters on it, and he was open to the idea that she had of perhaps bringing this poster back, and through the magic of internet community sites on Facebook that are dedicated to particular regional history discussions, found a lot of people who wanted this really lovely, jazzy, brightly colored.
I want one.
Well, it's got a giraffe on it. It's perfect for kids. It's got the cool Jungle Land logo, and I guess they used to sell it for $1 or $2. And the nice thing is you can get a fancy copy of this poster directly from Leslie now, made brand new by the artist. It's actually a recreation because he didn't have his original plates to remake this. But you can get it directly from Leslie for as much as $100 or as little as about $12 for a more modest copy. So anyone who would like to have a little bit of Jungle Land in their life, you can do so now and support a working artist who's been around the LA scene since the early 1960s, no longer in LA, but still making LA art, and be part of this neat community of Jungle Land aficionados. And can you explain why we care so much about this former lion farm and wild animal farm that closed in 1969?
Yes, Kim. So the reason I want a copy of this poster, and I'm going to order it. The reason we care so much is, well, Kim, you're obsessed with lion farms, and this was a lion farm. Jamie Kane was also obsessed with lion farms. Jamie Kane, perhaps better known to the world as James M. Kane, author of Postman Always Rings Twice, Double Indemnity, Mildred Pierce, etc., etc., etc. Kane came to Los Angeles in 1931, left his position as supervising editor at The New Yorker, brought out by Cecil B. DeMille to work on a screenplay for The Ten Commandments, lasted several weeks as a screenwriter attached to that project and was promptly fired, and Kane just got into the beat of an itinerant screenwriter, and in those first few years in Los Angeles, he became obsessed with lion farms too, Goebbels and Gaze being the two, this Jungle Land being the same thing as Goebbels. Kane would weekly, maybe not weekly, but at least twice a month, would drive the family out to one of the lion farms. This was one of his favorite things to do. And so this is going somewhere. The novella Baby in the Icebox, and yes, Kim, as you point out, the icebox is not a refrigerator, but an old-fashioned ice box with ventilation. Baby in the Icebox is a novella which is the kernel for Postman Always Rings Twice. Right? Postman Always Rings Twice, 1934, seminal novel for the hard-boiled school of American letters. Changed the way, it is, you're making a face at me. Change the way American literature is written. The kernel for this novel is Baby in the Icebox, which comes directly out of incidents around the lion farm out in Ventura and the lion farm out in El Monte. So this is very important.
You can't spell noir without lion, apparently.
You can't spell noir without lion, Kim. I like that. Okay, so let's keep moving. Our friend Justin is that's right. Just the artist Justin, who is a conceptual artist. We've interviewed him on this podcast. He is in the midst of a conceptual project about public policy and public art, and I'm happy to say I get a lot of updates on this, and I'm happy to say I give him a lot of feedback. I think it's pretty good because he's getting pretty far, which is obviously has a lot to do with the fact that he's very together. But but I don't think my good advice hurts him.
Well, and also, he's actually willing to jump through these rather ridiculous civic hoops. Like, oh, I can't do that. Well, can I do this? Oh, the terminology says XYZ. Well, how about WYO?
Okay. So the reason we're bringing this up is Justin has put out a new petition, and I want everyone to sign it. And the petition is
You didn't send it to me yet.
Oh, I'm gonna send it.
Well, I want to sign it.
Okay, Kim, I'm gonna.
It's important to support Justin.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Thanks.
Okay. We've got a little lag between. There's a little latency between when we record and when we publish. So don't worry, it's gonna get.
See, the difference between you and me is I like to be in the first 20 people that sign a really right-on petition, and you don't care where you are.
No, I don't care. Wow, you've done it. I don't care where I am in this petition because I'm just going to sign it in the next 2 hours before I get you all the URLs that need to be copy surrounding the URLs, so you're happy with the copy for the URLs. And you're right, I don't care. Okay, I don't care. Moving on. No, not moving on. Explaining the petition.
Would you please?
So Justin put up, and it was removed, a sign that said Glassell Land out in Glassell Park. And he's seeking a new location. This is really complicated. Is it a sign? Is it art? Is it public art? What about the city attorney's office is being consulted because they just freed up a great deal of money, many millions of dollars out of the Department of Cultural Affairs Public Art Division, which is a fairly autonomous unit that has all this money from
hotels.
Yeah, when you develop a piece of property, 1% for art. This is part of the 1% for art fund. So these funds have recently become available, and they don't seem to match this. So he's really
is it a sign to advertise real estate in Glassell Park?
This is a really good project. He's gonna do this is gonna be a fantastic. I don't know how he's going to take the narrative of the creation of public policy around the Glassell Land sign and its successful installation somewhere in Glassell Park on a hillside. But when he's done, it's going to make a great project, and I look forward to being at the opening. And I encourage everyone to sign the petition.
And I have an idea. If the physical sign is a no-go, what if there were a bank of fog created by machinery, and then Glassell Land was projected on the fog?
It's going to be fine, Kim. I think they're pretty close to finding a hillside. I don't want to give up the game, but I think I can say, just in the abstract, that he's making very good progress.
You don't like my cloud sign?
I like your cloud sign, Kim, but I don't. I think he's just going to get a hillside. And it's going to be okay. So
okay, well then, can we do that to recreate Victorian Bunker Hill on the sides of the skyscrapers?
Okay, Kim. We have to move on. We have one more closely watched train, and it's a doozy.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Oh, who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Skid Row, everyone's talking about it because of the shooting that happened about a week and a half ago down in front of the Union Rescue Mission, which is, of course, ground zero even for a lot of...
March 2.
March 2, thank you, Sunday. We spent a lot of time focusing on the Union Rescue Mission at both of its more recent locations, of course, Second and Main, where it was until the early 1990s, and then as part of the sort of concerted civic effort to push Skid Row east towards the river, to move the service organizations, to move the homeless so that downtown could be redeveloped. The Union Rescue Mission moved over to 5th and San Pedro, and that's where the shooting happened. And we do...
It's 6th and San Pedro.
Well, between 5th and 6th, thanks. We do a lot of historical work with their archives. We lead an annual walking tour of Skid Row history that ends on that block as we walk from City Hall through Little Tokyo and down to what is now the heart of Skid Row. And you can watch videos from the last few years on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Esotouric. So, obviously when anything happens right there and it draws the attention of the world to the problems of Skid Row and the abiding problems of Skid Row, the Union Rescue Mission has been there over 120 years. Not at that precise location, but in the Skid Row neighborhood, trying to provide services to the evolving community of very needy, troubled people who need a hand, need some food, need some shelter, need some clothing. Well, I mean, it's pretty clear that the policies of containment, the policies of the Safer Cities initiative, whereby police officers will come down to people who are living in tents and tell them, take your tent down, come out of your tent, it's daytime, you can't be inside your tent, in the sidewalk. All of this stuff provides a backdrop for enormous pressure and strife, and ultimately it resulted in the death of a man on the sidewalk in the middle of the day in front of a lot of witnesses. And the fascinating thing about the modern Skid Row, and part of me wishes this was the case 50 years ago, that there had been some sort of documentary possibility for the people living down in Skid Row to recognize what was happening around them and to record it. I don't think that was really so much the case, although you get some writers who come out of that life. But now everyone has a smartphone. And one of the gentlemen who was on the block, within moments of the shooting, he uploaded this video to Facebook. And it's a video of basically the aftermath of a confrontation between a man who's only known as Africa at this point. His identity is still in question. We've had a few different names have kind of been bounced around for him. Apparently some of his friends called him Sean. Maybe his name was Sean. But the confrontation began. It was interesting enough that people did gather around, and this one gentleman happened to shoot video, put it up on his Facebook account. By the time I saw it around 3 in the afternoon on Sunday, the day of the shooting, it had 30,000 views. By the time I woke up on Monday morning, it had 5 million views, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, this thing really took off. It spread worldwide. And, it's not just people interested in the problems of Skid Row and the problems of poverty and the failure of so many different entities to solve and cure homelessness in LA. This has now become part of the dialogue about policing and black versus white in America and worldwide. And so it's obviously very, very upsetting. I think people down on that block are having a very hard time. There have been some confrontations with news crews. There's an incredible piece of video footage that was shot by Amos for Streetwise LA, which shows a group of people with their arms up in the air in the now universally recognized hands up, don't shoot pose. And they're forcing a news van to back up and to leave the neighborhood because they don't want to be filmed. But what's coming out of it is a lot of very thoughtful journalism coming from many different sources. And there's been a lot of coverage in the Los Angeles Times, very thoughtful op-ed type pieces. And they're all saying the same thing. The policies for handling the problems of Skid Row have failed. The policing has failed, the housing has failed, and it has to change and it has to get better. And I'm sorry someone had to die, but maybe the result is going to be that this light is being shown on a failed Skid Row, and some new ideas will come to the fore, and perhaps something will come out of it. I really hope that's the case.
Okay, Kim, let's just step back, because that was a very good description of a very specific description of a very unfortunate event very recently.
I didn't even say what happened. I realize. It's upsetting. It's a little disorienting. So in the course of trying to arrest this gentleman, Africa, 5 or 6 police officers were physically confronting him, and a young officer lost control of his service weapon, or he believed he had. And he yelled something that no one can quite make out on this one video. There's other videos as well that obviously will need to be parsed, as well as body cams on the police and testimony from various people who were there. But because he was yelling something about his gun, the other officers believed that there was an immediate threat, and this gentleman, Africa, who was lying on his stomach being tasered, unclear if the taser worked, with his hands flapping around behind him, was perceived to be reaching for the officer's weapon, and he was shot dead there on the street.
Okay. So Skid Row, homelessness and the mentally ill is a closely watched train for us for obvious reasons. One of several things that I'm just gonna wrap this up with is Skid Row is adjacent to the men's central jail is adjacent to Skid Row. There are upwards of 25,000 persons incarcerated in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department's correctional facilities at any given moment. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is the largest mental health provider in the country.
Wow.
So
every time you say it, I just get chills.
So county supervisors and the sheriff's department under the last sheriff really want to move Men's Central Jail and erect a new mental health facility for the mentally ill on its site. The county of Los Angeles makes a lot of money from incarcerating the mentally ill. Skid Row is exacerbated by this sub-theme, an adjacent theme to this. Containment policies, the policy of containment, not officially adopted by the city of Los Angeles in 1974, but certainly in spirit followed out, pushed intake centers east of Main Street in downtown Los Angeles into what we now call Skid Row, and containment in spirit certainly was something that happened, and this containment policy, coupled with what is happening within the sheriff's department in correctional facilities, and coupled with just the economic crisis this country is facing, is creating a public policy nightmare. And it is in the context of all of these things, I hope I've quickly gotten through, that the shooting that Kim just described sits in. And it is a huge problem. I've, of course, failed to mention California realignment. California realignment and its impact on state correctional facilities and its burden on the county of Los Angeles is tremendous. The Sheriff's Department of Los Angeles County is bearing the burden of a great deal of California realignment, and this is having a huge impact on who is incarcerated, how people are incarcerated. This gets really complicated very quickly, and it's something everyone should try to think about, because these are major vectors in the crisis situation, which is Skid Row.
And what did I say to you on Saturday, the day before this shooting happened, while we were walking around the historic core, Richard?
I don't know, Kim. I forget.
Well, we were walking around the historic core, and I said...
The West Side crime tour?
We were downtown afterwards.
Okay.
And I said, I have never seen so many really troubled people who are clearly not in this world that we are walking in.
Yeah.
On Broadway. On 4th Street, on 6th Street, on Spring. It seemed like Skid Row was spreading outward, and these people, I mean, they were just... It was like walking through Bedlam. It was like when they used to let the British upper classes visit mental hospitals in the English countryside as a tourist attraction. That's what I felt like, and I thought, there are so many young people just walking around oblivious with their little doggies and looking at their phones, and they don't realize they are surrounded by people with mind-forged manacles, and something is going to happen here. I walked away saying, I hope no one gets hurt. I think there could really be a confrontation with someone who comes over from Skid Row and is very mentally deluded, getting into it with one of the people who live over here. And that's not what ultimately ended up happening the following day, but something really big did happen, and the whole world is watching, and I hope it'll be a better day tomorrow.
Good William Blake reference, Kim, by the way, mind-forged manacles. Okay, Kim, we're done. We're done with Closely Watched Trains. We're gonna get into upcoming events, and we're gonna get through them quickly because we've got to get to our interviews. Coming up Sunday, March 15, is our next forensic science seminar. I strongly encourage you to come. It's going to be a great event. We are doing ballistics and homicide investigation within correctional facilities.
Hey!
What?
That kind of fits in with everything we've been talking about.
Yes, Kim. Unfortunately, yes. Everything we've just been talking about, yes, is what this forensic science seminar is about. It's a benefit. It's a benefit for the criminalistics department at Cal State Los Angeles. We work with them to put these on. Mike Kelly is a ballistics investigator for the Sheriff's Department. He'll be giving the ballistics talk and an extensive hands-on show and tell. Nick Guskos is the second speaker, and he'll be talking about his many, many years of homicide investigation within correctional facilities in the Sheriff's Department. These are fascinating topics. Sunday, March 15th, $36.50. Please get a ticket. We'll see you there. This is a great event. 2 weeks later, Visionary of the Year talk for our Lava Sunday Salon. Our Lava Sunday Salon is back. Last Sunday of the month. We are at Library Bar, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's a free salon. Reservations required. Nathan Marsak, who is the Lava Visionary of the Year 2014.
2015.
Oh my God, it's 2015, yes. He's Lava Visionary of the Year 2015. He's giving his talk on Richardsonian Romanesque in Los Angeles. So this is a talk about... So the 19th century begins and ends with the mission. And in the context of that statement, the 19th century begins and ends with the mission. Before it ends with the mission, it goes through many iterations. Richardsonian Romanesque, French Second Empire are two of them, and how we come to the mission is a really important question, because it defines Southern California. And Nathan's talk about Richardsonian Romanesque in late 19th century Los Angeles will help us address and understand this path of getting to the mission as the style, as the defining style for Southern California. So it's free. You need to make a reservation, and we hope to see you there. And just very quickly, just because we took her out for her birthday last week. She's such a sweetie. I love her to death. The April Salon, April 26th, Sunday, April 26th. Joan Job Smith. Joan Job Smith is a poet and a writer. She's published her memoir, Tales of an Ancient Go-Go Girl. And Joan is I'm going to interview her about being a go-go dancer in the mid-'60s. She's going to talk about Orange County biker gangs, drug trafficking,
The
Watts riots.
Being mentored by Charles Bukowski.
Joan Job Smith, after she left the world of go-go dancing, which involved her work with the Hessian.
Don't even start.
Okay.
Yeah. After she left the go-go world, she started hanging out with some real reprobates like Charles Bukowski. But you'll just have to come to the salon to hear all about it.
Yeah.
And buy a copy of her book, which she will sign for you, and then you'll have something to treasure forever.
So these salons are back. We're super excited about them. So get signed up, and there we go. And that's it. That's it. We can get started talking about. We can get ready for the interviews. So no, I need that piece of paper. I don't need that piece of paper. Okay, so interviews. First interviews with George, second interviews with Kim. So I will introduce Kim first. Kim Stringfellow will be our second interview. I'm interviewing her as the project organizer for the show After the Aqueduct at LACE. LACE, and this is the last time I'm going to say it, LACE stands for Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions. They're a art gallery in Hollywood. They moved to their current location in 1995. The CRA put them there. This exhibit After the Aqueduct is about the Los Angeles Aqueduct. Stretches from the Owens Valley to Los Angeles, opened in 1913 and changed forever, shapes forever Los Angeles and its public policy. So this is an exhibit of multiple artists, multimedia, about the aqueduct, water, the Owens Valley, and Los Angeles going into the 21st century. It's a fantastic show. Kim does a fantastic job of walking us through it. On Saturday, March 14, at LACE at 2 p.m. will be a panel discussion about this exhibit. John Christensen, who's been interviewed on this podcast, John Christensen is editor of Boom, a California journal. He'll be moderating the panel. It's a great exhibit. Try and get to the panel. Kim Stringfellow has a number. I'm just going to quickly toss out other things she's worked on, which of course will be on the webpage associated with this podcast. She has a project called the Mojave Project, which is ongoing. This is a project that explores the Mojave Desert, of course. Aerospace, the human, just a lot of different the scales of time in the Mojave, scales of travel in the Mojave on foot, on mule, military-industrial complex, the Mojave Desert as a proving ground for all different things. It's a great project, ongoing. Check out the link. And the last thing I will say about Kim and work outside of this exhibit, but tangential to and absolutely pertinent to, is a podcast she's done called "There It Is, Take It." This is a 90-minute podcast for you to drive up Highway 395, and in the Owens Valley, and listen to the podcast as you go, and it just sort of. So we're gonna do that soon and do that. It's really interesting. So she's great. It's a great interview. It's a great exhibit. Please get to it, and that will be our second interview. Our first interview. There we go, George. George Redfox is president of the Downey Historical Society. He's been on this podcast recently. He will be on again in the near future. He's really interesting. Downey is a fascinating place, and this week he's going to talk about the oldest McDonald's in America. This is the one of the original franchises, as in. So, just to quickly set this up, McDonald's, the McDonald's brothers, in 1937 opened a restaurant at the Monrovia Airport called the Airdrome. It was 10-cent hamburgers, nickel bottomless glass of orange juice. This did very well. At the end of World War II, they decided that Route 66 was where they needed to be, but they needed to be at a bigger hub for Route 66. Monrovia was too small, so they moved out to Avenue E in San Bernardino. This is coming down the old alignment for Route 66 out of the Cajon Pass, and they opened up their first, what they call, is this McDonald's, which is no longer there. They broke everything up. This is really the first fast food restaurant. Like, one window was French fries, one window is hamburgers, one window is soft drinks. Okay, and this is 46. By 49, the car hops. They're really successful, and they say to themselves, "Okay, we want to get serious. We want to make a signature burger joint that we can franchise. That we can we're going to start licensing these to other people that can open McDonald's restaurants, because this is going so well." They retain an architect, Stanley Meston, a Fontana architect, and he designs what we all know as the arches, these golden arches. And so, late 53, one goes up in Phoenix. 54, this one goes up in Downey, and then the second one in Southern California goes up in Azusa. The one in Azusa was torn down in 85, 86, and this is, of course, Chris Nickel of LA Magazine's fame. This is his superhero moment, was his witnessing of the destruction of the McDonald's Azusa on Foothill Boulevard and at Cerritos Road. This is how he became a preservationist. So, very long, well, not too long, but important. So this McDonald's we're going to with George, and he'll be talking about this. This was opened in 54 by two brother-in-laws. They married sisters, and they became these guys. This is interesting. They leased gas stations, so they had these giant tables of traffic patterns in Los Angeles County, and they were just like, all they did all day was like kind of keep up on busy intersections, and the best intersections to put gas stations. And they decided that Lakewood and Paramount was just a really important intersection and busy, and so they took out a franchise from the McDonald's brothers. This is before Ray Kroc. Okay, I know, Kim, I know, but we didn't get into this in the podcast too much. We got into other things, so I just wanted to okay. Got into a lot of stuff, but we sort of went light on this, and I just want to get this on there. So they took a franchise out from the McDonald's brothers, and it's still there. George will get into the history from there, but I just wanted to make sure that was all there. And so with that, let's take it away with our interview with George at the McDonald's in Downey. George, I'm here with you. We're in Downey. We're at Lakewood and Florence, thank you. Lakewood, I was going to say Paramount. We're at Lakewood and Florence. We're at the original McDonald's in Southern California. I need you to properly introduce yourself. Give us your titles. You are a member of two distinct entities in Downey that concerns itself with this history and preservation. And we'll get to that, and then we'll get to the work at hand, which is this beautiful fast food restaurant.
All right. Hi, my name is George Redfox. I'm actually from the Downey Conservancy. I'm the president of that corporation, and I'm also from the Downey Historical Society. I'm actually just a member there, but I've been a member for quite a few years now, and it's a great organization too.
And just before we get started, these entities both have events sometimes. Is there one or two events coming up you just want to pull people's sleeve to that they can start to look forward to?
We do have, for the Downey Conservancy, it looks like we're going to be having a tour coming up in April, so we'll be looking forward to that. I don't have a date for you as of right now, but it's going to be in April sometime. Downey Historical Society has monthly meetings, generally on Thursday nights, starting about 7:30 at Apollo Park.
Perfect. Okay, so we're here. This is the 1953 in Phoenix. This Stanley Meston design opens. That's gone. End of 53. This opens. Go.
Okay, so we're sitting here at the original McDonald's here in Downey, California, designed by Charlie Meston. A great piece of California history and world history, I guess you could say. I grew up right down the street from this place, and it's a part of my history. It's a part of my heart. I remember cruising up the alley here right behind us, and I'd come down here and I'd get fries or I'd get a drink or whatever. I was so close I could do that as a kid, and just with all my friends we'd come down here and hang out. Really just a great piece of architecture. You can kind of just sit here and you can see it from all the corners. The yellow arches, they are classic as far as the French fry goes in McDonald's Corporation. They still have the original tile on the building. Everything is original, including, I guess you could say, including the sign out front, which goes back to 1959.
And this is the Sir Speedy. This is pre-Ronald McDonald.
That is true. So it's pre-Ronald McDonald. There was another sign that was sat on this property also, and I do have pictures of that one. But it sat not at the corner, it sat off the corner a little bit, and it was one of the more traditional McDonald's signs, and I believe it was erected in 53, and then they took that one down when they put up the sign that's here now. I think 58 or 59.
Wow, fantastic. Very quickly, so this in the 1990s, the family that owned the franchise, that opened the franchise in 53, there was an earthquake. There were some issues with whether they're going to reopen. Do you want to bring us up to speed on the saga of how this original McDonald's was saved?
Sure, I can do that for you. So basically, when there was an earthquake in, I think it was 1990 or 91, I'm not sure of the year, but there was actually a time where we thought this McDonald's wasn't going to make it. They had closed it down. They had said that it needed earthquake repair. It had earthquake damage. They said the roof was possibly, maybe caving in. I'm not sure. But there was reasons why they wanted to take it down. The community got together. Alan Hess came in, did some, I guess you could say, architectural stuff on it. He's one of the local guys around here, Orange County, Los Angeles, as far as architecture and Googie architecture. LA Conservancy came in, did a lot of work on preserving the place here. And I think I was roughly 20 years old at that time, so I remember writing something to the Downey Eagle, which was the local newspaper, and I wrote just a little clip in there, and I remember they published it, and I was like thinking, oh, that's cool. My name's in the paper with a little my editorial, which was I thought was really cool, being a kid 19 or 20 years old. So, I mean, that was kind of neat. But as we can sit here now in the year 2015, this McDonald's is still alive and well. It looks great. They keep it up well. Still great food here at McDonald's. You get the fries, you get the McDonald's hamburgers. cheeseburgers, whatever it might be. You just get some good food here, and it's always fun to check in on your Facebook page when you get here too. It's kind of cool. You get lots of people that come on here and say, "Hey, I wish I was there." So I mean, every time I come, I usually check in.
Perfect. Do you, as we wrap this up, do you want to give us just a glimpse of what this was like when you were growing up? Just not just this McDonald's, but car culture in Downey. You know, there Harvey's Brit. There's a lot about cruising culture in Downey that's a big part of that mystique. If you could just leave us with a glimpse of that.
Okay, so Downey, let's say from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and even up into the 80s, there was a lot of car culture here. In fact, there still is a lot of car culture in this area. There were a lot of auto manufacturers around the area. We had, I think there was Ford over there in Pico Rivera. Yep. I think Southgate had Chevrolet. Yes. General Motors. Yeah, General Motors. Okay. So yeah, there was a lot of different auto plants around here where they actually built the cars.
Chrysler was in Long Beach?
You know, Chrysler might have been.
Yeah.
They might have been. I'm not exactly sure, but they were just all over the area. So you had these guys that built the cars. Then you had their kids who would rebuild the old cars, and you would have that car culture. So you had people that basically were interested in the car culture. You had people that knew how to build those cars. They knew how to build fast cars. And then they wanted to cruise them. So you had McDonald's here in Downey. You had Harvey's / Johnny's Broiler / Bob's Big Boy now. And just a big, I guess you could say, circle of events as far as the car culture goes along here in Southern California. Just Downey's a big part of it. You just have a lot of the interest around here. Even to this day, you still have a lot of interest. People still cruise the McDonald's here. I see actually a lot of the little import cars and stuff around this McDonald's, which is kind of cool. And then I go by Harvey's, or I should say Bob's Broiler, all the time down there. And they have car cruise nights all the time. That's alive and well here in Downey, California.
Perfect. And as we go, again, remind us of Downey Conservancy and Downey Historical, just so people can go to the webpage for this podcast and get involved with preservation and history down here.
All right. So once again, my name is George Redfox. I'm from the Downey Conservancy. I'm the president of that corporation. And I'm also part of the Downey Historical Society. I'm a member there. And both Downey Conservancy and Downey Historical Society have great programs. Be sure to check us out online, thedowneyconservancy.org and downeyhistoricalsociety.org.
George, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Albert Okura. I'm here in San Bernardino, California, right on Route 66, and you're listening to You Can't Eat the Sunshine.
Kim, I'm here with you. We're at Lace. It's in Hollywood. I'd like for you to properly introduce yourself and tell us about this exhibit, which is about to come into the world.
I'm Kim Stringfellow. I'm an artist and educator. I teach down at San Diego State University. I've lived in Southern California for nearly 15 years now. Lived in Los Angeles, San Diego. I now live out in Joshua Tree. My work deals with a lot of research, cultural geography, social practice. I work in a variety of media. I often do very long-term projects. And I recently did a project called There It Is, Take It, which deals with the history of the Los Angeles Aqueduct, its 100-year history. And primarily it deals with the effects that the aqueduct had on Owens Valley, which is where the water comes from in the Eastern Sierra.
Perfect. That was a very good introduction to who you are. Now, let's get into this room, this exhibit space, and tell us about this exhibit, which is about to come into the world, which you're the project organizer for.
So we're in the front room of Lace, and we're looking at a project by Lauren Bond and the Metabolic Studio, 100 Mules Walking the Los Angeles Aqueduct. And this commenced in 2013, and she's made some additions to the project, so it's through 2015 as well. So Lauren Bond actually worked with mule skinners, is that the correct word? Okay. Yes, so Lauren Bond worked with mule skinners, I forget the exact number, and she actually hired these various folks who are experts in their field to actually wrangle 100 mules, similar to the mule power that was used to actually construct the Los Angeles Aqueduct. So they traveled from Owens Valley over, I think it was over a month's time, along the aqueduct all the way to the Cascades, and they were able to arrive for the anniversary, actually, of when the aqueduct was first opened up at the Cascades and water was released. And that happened on November 11th, 1913. So this party arrived on November 11th, 2013. And it was quite an event, a major undertaking, performative work, on the level of Christo and Jean-Claude, the type of infrastructure, planning. Of course, you would have to go through multiple counties, Inyo County, San Bernardino, Los Angeles, just to get access to travel this route. Water these mules along, feed these mules, all this work that goes into this. So we're looking at the bridles from the mules that were collected and the horseshoes, which there's this kind of beautiful mobile that has been created with these shoes that were actually used during this journey. And then this is a video, and this is a continuous video as they're traveling for the entire month from the viewpoint of 4 different mules. And this will play over the course of the exhibition until April 12th. I'm not sure exactly how many days this spans, but every time you come to the gallery, you're going to be able to see a different location along the aqueduct. So you can see right now it's hard for me to tell what I'm looking at here. I'm not sure if we're still in Owens Valley or we're in the northern Mojave Desert, but it's definitely some kind of arid landscape in that.
Yep.
As they move south, of course, you're going to start seeing more signs of urban existence moving through Lancaster and Palmdale and that.
Perfect. Let's keep walking and talking. So here we go, and we're moving into the middle gallery space.
So the monitor here is a showcase for Peter Bo Ratman's work, psychohydrography. It's a piece that was done in 2010. And it is this kind of meditative derive, like a situationist derive of him looking at the aqueduct from the starting point in Owens Valley, traveling along this infrastructure through the desert, coming into Los Angeles, and then he starts to focus his camera on the Los Angeles River, and the river takes us to the ocean. And then this is where the piece concludes. It's a feature piece. It's very mesmerizing to actually sit and watch this entire piece. I believe it's over an hour or so, and it has a wonderful. The ambient soundtrack is amazing on it as well. So
perfect. Okay, let's keep walking clockwise. Yeah, I think we're walking clockwise.
So we're looking at the Aqueduct Futures Project, which is Professor Barry Lehrman at Cal Poly. He worked with students, including Jonathan Linkus, and a whole variety of students. There's too many to actually name. But this project was done over a year and a half. It was part of a course study. It was an immersive field experience where the students actually traveled along the aqueduct in both the Lancaster area, Palmdale, I believe, and up in Owens Valley, and did initial research, worked with communities in these areas, and then responded through design and landscape architecture possible solutions for the future. And there's a variety of topics they're looking at. Some things are designed in these kind of timelines, and you can see there's like this layering of time looking at different issues in that. I think the actual design graphics are quite amazing, and it's great to bring in this kind of applied design, landscape architecture into the equation with fine art in that too, and sort of look at this aesthetically as well. So there's a lot of research and information that's part of this, and it was a collaborative project. So
great, great, perfect. The game, yes, okay. The game, yes. Okay, so attempt. I know that this is just audio, but attempt to describe what we're standing in front of before you explain what it does. Okay,
so we're standing in front of this game. It's a kind of...
It's a game console. I think we can safely say it's a game console.
Yeah, it's definitely a game console. It's very inviting. It has a bunch of joysticks and colorful buttons on it that makes you want to just start plugging away on this thing. And there's an array of postcards and a 3D printer and screens that allow the audience to interact and actually to look at the Owens Lake. So it's very specific to the Owens Lake. The title of this project is the Rapid Landscape Prototyping Machine for the Owens Lake Dust Control Project. And it's done by Alexander Robinson and Landscape Morphologies Lab. So this is going to be, I think, a big hit of this show.
I can tell.
It's going to be huge, especially
because I'm going to cut to the chase. Because at the end of your experience, you get a postcard, right?
Right. We always like it when we get things at shows that we actually get to create. So it's actually going to be printing out these postcards. There's these frames with different elevation models that you can actually exchange for the one that we're looking at right now. And there's also projected imagery that creates this very 3D kind of look to this. So I think this is great. Behind it are some of the prototypes that they've created. They also work with it's like a, what do you call those Japanese, the gardens where you rake different shapes?
The Zen gardens,
Zen gardens, yes. So they actually have worked with sand as well to use the 3D printer to create these different types of elevation models in that. And I believe that working with these kinds of manipulated elevations, this can help with dust control, because these are able to sequester dust in these different shapes. And why not do something that's aesthetic? I think this is the point of this. You know, if you're going to have to, it's a huge lake bed. So why not think about how artists and designers really help with these kinds of issues and these problems that we need to deal with in controlling the dust and so forth on Owens Lake.
Great. What's next?
Nicole Antibbe.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
So Nicole Antibbe, she's worked on this nonfiction animation that was actually produced in 2009. It is a Mulholland bestiary. We actually featured this project in Arid Journal, and it's a really beautiful, poetic kind of portrait of Mulholland, thinking about his larger-than-life persona. She's taken a lot of sort of liberties in reworking his myth and that, which I think are quite wonderful, and did this beautiful presentation where there are these beautiful kind of animated drawings and that, with this kind of storyline. And I think it's a very subtle piece. It's different than, say, Barry Lehrman's projects, which are very didactic type of work in that. So I think it counters and brings in more the sort of poetic story.
Perfect.
Okay.
Let's keep moving along then.
I'm going to talk about Chad.
Yeah. This. Okay. So we have to take a breath because you're about to start talking about a photograph and no one can see it, and it's absolutely stunning.
Okay.
So just take a breath and tell us about this amazing print.
Okay. So Chad Ress is a photographer. He does a lot of commercial editorial work and that. I came across his work in Boom, a journal of California that John Christensen is the editor. He was actually featured in a issue in 2013 that dealt with the Los Angeles Aqueduct as subject, and I was really taken by these amazing prints. He works in a digital 4x5 format, so the detail is absolutely amazing. They're wonderful, and he's really sort of looking at how we interact with this water that comes from this area. So he has this image of a swimming pool, of a public swimming pool that's outdoors, and it's fed by waters from Metropolitan Water District, the Los Angeles Aqueduct, and that. There's a large panorama that's part of the show, and it's actually the only photograph from 2014. So his other images are from 2013 when he shot those. When we were talking about this exhibit initially, I suggested that perhaps he wanted to go up to South Lake in the Eastern Sierra and check out the fact that South Lake, which is normally a full, beautiful Eastern Sierra lake, was nearly empty. I had been up there in 2013 and saw for myself, and I thought this would be a great subject in his technique. And it's great to talk with him about this because he was sort of shooed out of here by Southern California Edison, but he was able to get into the lake bed, so we're really sort of seeing it from within. We're seeing this kind of majestic mountainscape behind. There's a little dusting of snow. It's probably shot later in perhaps the afternoon, so it has this kind of beautiful warm tone. And then we're seeing this kind of rocky, desolate lake bed. And it's hard to get an idea of the scale of what you're looking at until you see this.
And this is, and I'm going to interrupt you, the way the way he frames the scaling images is brilliant. I mean, you can spend 15 to 30 seconds looking at this photograph before you discover the object which he's placed in here for scale.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, and it's great because it's not apparent when you first look at this, but then you start to see there is a caterpillar, which is the machinery, of course, and it is minuscule within this. So you can see that this is a huge expanse that is devoid of water. And I think it really plays into this idea of our title, After the Aqueduct. This is really about thinking beyond, thinking about the future, thinking about we're in a drought, thinking about the fact that Owens Lake now has to be rewatered. They can't do as much groundwater pumping. Where are we going to get our water? And how can Los Angeles be self-sufficient? All these things are part of this. I actually went on a tour with some folks from Owens Valley over a year and a half ago that Tom Benage actually had organized for Harry Williams, who is a Bishop Paiute tribal elder. And we came down to Los Angeles and looked at a lot of the water capture that they're starting to implement. We looked at the Burbank. They're no longer working with above ground reservoirs. There's a lot of reasons for that, and they're building a new underground reservoir. And there's this push to actually capture rainwater. And we can have water that pours, on the city, and if this was able to be captured, it could sustain the city. It could really do that. So I think we're going to start seeing, Barry Lehrman, these kinds of applications, thinking about this. The Arid Lands Institute is also working with the city on these kind of creative infrastructure in that too. I guess Lauren Baum, the Prince. There's this alcove room in lace that is the exhibition space for Lauren Bond's and the Metabolic Studio liminal prints. And this area is going to house these amazing prints that were actually processed with chemistry on Owens Lake bed. So you have this concentration of heavy metals and all sorts of things that end up down there. And they actually work together to create these beautiful prints, this very experimental alternative process photographic print. And they're quite beautiful, very painterly in that. So they're working, they actually just painted this room silver. And this sort of evokes the fact that Cerro Gordo is above Owens Lake. And this is where the silver actually that built Los Angeles,
brought in by mule train.
Right, by mule trains as well. And so, some of that silver in that has actually been processed down by the lake bed and sort of made its way into this. So this is symbolic of the actual element that they're working with.
Perfect. And did we leave anything out?
I think we just have to talk about.
I think I was being polite. Yeah, we do. Yeah, you've left yours for last, which is good. So let's go over and yours looks good. I like this exhibit. Okay, well I'm excited. Go. Tell us about your exhibit.
Well, so my project is There It Is, Take It, and it's always interesting to do a physical exhibition of something that's an audio tour. So this is actually, this audio tour is meant to be traveled along Highway 395 in the Eastern Sierra through Owens Valley. And it's very, very scenic byway. It's actually amazing. Every Californian should take the trip up there and do this. So this is going to present this kind of alternative history through the voices of residents, activists, ranchers, DWP employees. And it begins at beginning of time, so we start out with actually Chris Plakos really talks about how the aqueduct, how the infrastructure ties together all the way